guys, this is Rickles with WTBGold, and today we're talking about something new coming for anyone with professions on the patch 8.1.5 PTR. Now, Kyvax, community manager, just posted a post in the PTR forums talking about Warlords of Draenor Time Walking is coming. We got a micro holiday and new profession questlines. Tools of the trade are coming. All 8 of the crafting secondary professions now have quest lines to acquire a tool of the trade that is unique for that profession. Your character has to be at max level, and each quest line starts at the trainer. So this is a world tour quest chain that starts at your trainer, and I only did the leatherworking one because it took a little longer than I was expecting it to, about 45 minutes to an hour. This is great if you love immersion and profession RP. I'm glad that they aren't making us, PvP again, because, if this was just go out and get 10 marks of honor and you get the recipe, that'd be super frustrating. I'd rather just not ever make it than have to go out and PvP. But at the same time, it takes a lot of time, so if you have 20 max level tunes, you might want to pick and choose. For the quest itself, you go and you talk to a Tauren, and he says, hey, I want to make sure you're good, so I need you to craft me some items. It's different for each profession what you actually have to craft, but it's a recipe you already know. Just come with a couple reagents already available. I've heard that some professions require hydrocores, so maybe have some hydrocores on you. From a gold making perspective, I'm not expecting to see an actual increase in the prices of these mats. Maybe they'll jump up for a day or two, but I don't see this being a super invest heavily in bloodstained bones. I'm not seeing that this time around. So for the quest itself, he says we're going to do this ritual, and I need some super amazing magic drums, so go out into the world and get me materials to make these drums. And so you go get bones from the BFA zones, you kill and skin a goldfish to get some scales, and then you go to a pack of goblins and you either kill them for the leather, or you can just pay them 1,250 gold for the leather. And this is really cool. This shows that whoever designed these quests put a lot of thought into it, because how do you get raw materials? How do you get the reagents for crafting professions? Well, you either get them as a drop off enemies like the bones, use the farming professions in order to farm them up and skin them, or you can just buy them off the auction house. Everything else was pretty easy, but I really liked the goblin quest line. You go out and talk to a Tauren in Thunderbluff, and she says, oh, some goblins stole my stuff. So you go over, and you can either fight the goblins, or you pay them 1,250 gold. So we've seen things like this before, where you pay a guard 10 gold or 50 gold to move, but it's never really been enough gold to matter. It's yeah, all right, I'll just pay him, and there's 200 gold. Oh no. This, it's 1,250 gold. So this is the first time where I was ooh, that's a lot. I'd like to see this happen more often. I'd like to, if having some kind of a bribe mechanic where you pay someone $5,000, $10,000, that you can fight them, but they suck to fight. It's a 5 or 10 minute fight. You're gonna need a group together, or you can just give them $5,000 and they move out of the way of the cave. That'd be cool. The only other thing on this, it was kind of awkward where you pay them the gold and they leave, and you're left looking at this chest on the ground, and I kept waiting for the chest to be clickable, but it just wasn't. I already had the item in my bag, but I didn't know it. It just kind of happened. So tip for Blizz, I'd either like the chest to be clickable, so we loot the leather from the chests, or after you pay the goblins the 1,250 gold, they say okay, cool, you have access to the chest now, but now you gotta buy a key for 50 million. So then you gotta fight them anyway, and then you kill them, and you loot your 1,250 gold off them after you kill them. Kind of a Grand Theft Auto hooker style. I think that'd be fun. But 15-30 minutes later, you go back, you perform the ritual to the Earth Mother, and you realize that you are only halfway done with this quest chain. But from there, it's really easy. You take your 6 now imbued drums, and you go around and put one in each zone of BFA, and it's pretty self-explanatory. A couple of the quest markers didn't show up on the PTR, but they'll have that fixed. So you finish the quest, you come back, you learn how to make the hammer. What does the hammer actually do? Well, it has 2 perks, and the first one is a reusable on-use 25% haste buff for 40 seconds. This is terrible, harmful to the professions, poorly thought out, stupid, like, okay, so whoever designed the quests, I love you. You're great. Like, thank you. I laughed a bunch as I was going through. It was an engaging walk through the workflow of my crafting profession and gave me pride in my profession. Whoever designed the hammer itself, please stop touching anything that has to do with professions. Go back to spell and talent design and just stay there. Stay away from professions. You don't get it. Okay, so, like, why am I freaking out about this? Well, this is essentially the drums buff. It doesn't apply to everyone in the group, so, like, there are some unique instances where, like, it could be creatively used. If you die during a boss fight and the hero goes out and then you get rezzed, you know, your group only has 1 mage, then you can pop your hammer and you know, your group benefits. But you can do the same thing with drums. They're saying we get a unique perk for each profession. This is not a unique perk. This is drums. Drums have been part of leatherworking since the beginning of the game, and this directly cannibalizes drums. So if you give everyone a permanent on-use drums effect, they don't need drums anymore. By trying to give something that benefits leatherworking, you don't want to do that in a way that removes potential gold from leatherworking sales. That makes 1 or I guess 7, 8 of the things we can craft just obsolete. So please, if anyone from Blizzard is watching, change the on-use effect. It's stupid. The other reason I hate this is because this quest chain is, it's the tool of the trade. It's, you know, you are a master leather worker or a master tailor, and this is like something for you to benefit you. And then it's a PvE buff. It's saying, cool, you're the best blacksmith in the land, and you've now been imbued by the power of a loon or whatever. So now what you'd want the best blacksmith in the land to do is head over to the anvil and give him something that benefits him at the anvil. Instead, you're saying go out and fight and potentially die. As crafters and gold makers, we like being the things that buff you up. Coarse leather barding, mono-hardened hoof plates and spurs, and the chef's hat, and the glove enchant for crafting. The glove enchant crafting changed my life on like, as a scribe, you gotta have the glove enchant crafting. So what's a perk you could give the hammer that's specific to BFA and benefits crafters and makes their lives easier? So look at the profession crafting pipeline. We've got a lot of people here in the comments that would be willing to talk about the profession crafting pipeline. Just to restock the auction house every day, it's like 15 to 30 minutes at the scrapper and an hour or 2 hours out farming in the world. We go through a lot of expulsum, and it's a huge pain. So something you can do rather than like, oh, cool, you're stronger when you're fighting, is like, no, you're the best blacksmith in the land. Here, it's easier to get expulsum now. The scrapper is instant cast, has a double proc chance for expulsum, something like that. And then you're building the story. A loon has imbued me with the power to get more expulsum. And then I'm definitely gonna want to go do this quest chain because I'm so sick of dealing with expulsum, and now this is easier. I'm improving my gold per hour. I'm improving my efficiency. It's faster. Something like that. Make it an expulsum hammer. Don't make it a drums. I needed to take a second. Sorry. The second thing that this hammer does is a little bit cooler. It's still a PvE buff, but it's bringing back profession perks essentially. Remember the drums we went and placed around? Well, if you go and you click on one of those drums, you get to choose between one of 3 buffs. Either a 15% speed buff, 10% reduced damage taken, and 15% max health, or plus 400 base stat, which is, depending on your gear, between 5 and 10% buff to your damage. So these are significant perks. The cool thing about this is that they stack. So before you go out and do your world PvP, you can click on a drum and then click on the thing next to your profession trainer and then click on one of the shrines. And so like me, I'm a Vengeance Demon Hunter and a Leatherworker, so I can click on the little thing next to the Leatherworking trainer that gives me 10% reduced damage taken. I can click on the drum, which gives me an additional 10% reduced damage taken and 15% max health. And then I can click on the Shrine to Cragmaw, which gives me, whenever I drop under 25% health, I get a 40k shield and 40k healing. So, like, suddenly, I'm a beast in world PvP, and I am super frustrating to deal with. Like, I could just go hang out and slash dance at the Emissary turn-in and be fine. You know, it's just a shame that buffs like this get removed when you go into a raid. Oh my god. So the buff stays inside raids. I'd expect that this is just something they overlooked on the PTR, and it'll probably be fixed by the time it comes to live. But at the same time, I tried disenchanting these, and you can't disenchant it. I tried scrapping it. You can't scrap these. So they went through the normal checks of like all the little boxes that they got to tick. And I assume that one of those boxes they got to tick off is it usable inside raids? Because most things aren't, but this is. So I'm excited about this because essentially it's confusing because Blizzard said that they wanted to do away with profession perks. They didn't want profession perks to impact raid performance because they didn't want you to pick and choose. Well, now with this, everyone can choose the same buff. So there's no difference between professions. Everything's on the same playing field. You have to have a crafting profession rather than a gathering profession. So like if you're a dual gatherer, herbalist miner, then you can't do top tier progression rating anymore because you're missing out on like 7% main stat, which for the top end raiders is massive. It's a whole nother armor slot essentially. It's like a mythic trinket, having an extra mythic trinket. But one of the reasons why I'd understand if it does stay around, they're kind of reintroducing everything with the illusion of choice and rebranding it. So like everyone hated daily quests, but they love world quests. World quests are just daily quests that because of the way they're designed, it feels like you can choose better. So you feel more in control. You don't feel like you have to go out and do 25 daily quests a day. Instead, you get to go out and do daily quests a day. So with the old profession perks, it was like 3% crit. Your baseline would be higher and it wouldn't feel good. But with this, your baseline is lower, but then you're buffing yourself up to the same level you used to be. So you're choosing to get stronger even though the level of strength is the same. And that's just kind of in line with how BFA has been rolling out so far. So if you are a progression raider, go out and do this. And in closing, it brings up kind of an interesting thing that I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. So if you are on a good raid team that's clearing heroic or mythic content, if you would consider yourself a progression raider, if any of y'all didn't know, there was a point in time where I was the #2 best geared warrior in the world. I've been on top 100 raid teams. I don't really talk about it a whole lot, but like I've paid my raiding dues. So like the first 100 or 200 pulls of a really tough fight, like you don't even have to have a food buff. Like the first 100 pulls are everyone trying to learn what to do individually. And then the second 100 pulls are like they know what to do individually. Now we need to figure out how to work that together as a team. And then you kind of hit a thresh point where you're like, okay, we just need to execute it perfectly. So, like, you don't need to have a food and flask buff for the first 100, 200 pulls. It's only, like, once y'all know what to do and you can consistently execute it that, like, all right, let's buff up because any one of these pulls could be the kill. So, 7% main stat is a lot. This buff lasts for 30 minutes or until you die. So, at what point during a progression night do y'all think it'd be worth it to have half the group hearth out, go click on a drum, get summoned back, have the other half hearth out, click on a drum, get summoned back, just to do an attempt, potentially die, lose the buff, and have to repeat that every pull? I want to hear y'all's thoughts because that's a lot of output, but it's also a lot of wasted time. And one of the other things when you're putting in 200, 300 attempts on a boss is just get another attempt in. Once the wipe is called until everyone's buffed and ready to go again, needs to be under 30 seconds. Go, 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 go. Taking 5 minutes to go rebuff everyone isn't gonna work. But do you think it would? So that's it. There was a surprising amount to talk about in this video. But if y'all enjoyed hearing me like freak out at the developers, then hit the like button, subscribe, and developers, whoever designed the hammer, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Good luck and happy gold making. Oh my god. Fucking get out.